Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing another One Piece review, and this is usually the part where I will say the arc name, but unfortunately I feel like I have been misguided by the translation because I have seen the name of this arc written two different ways. In the current version that I'm reading, it seems to be pronounced Sabaody, but from the way that I've seen it written online, it seems to be pronounced Sabaody. Or Sabaody. So I don't know, I'm not really quite sure how to pronounce this one because I've seen it written in a few different ways. And I have a feeling it's just the translation trying to mislead me. Now, I'm not gonna lie, going into this one, I wasn't expecting a lot of action and I wasn't expecting a lot to happen because of the way that I have noticed that these arcs have been written, or specifically the sagas have been written. They've been following a very loose pattern, but a pattern nonetheless. And so if you look back to, say, Skypiea, you'll see that it was written in a very similar way in regards to there was like a small story point that happened and then later on it goes into the bigger story point that happens. So I was expecting there to be a lot more foreshadowing in this and a lot less like great information and like great action that came out of it, because I was expecting we would just get more of like the monkey business from the beginning of Skypiea when they were doing all of that before they made it to that island. But in reality we got like great foreshadowing in this one, we got a lot of great information, and we got some great action in it as well. But more specifically, I want to talk about everything to do with Gold Roger, and everything to do with what we learned about Gold Roger in this one. So we meet Gold Roger's right-hand man, and he gives us a whole bunch of new information about Gold Roger. Just some of the like little things is we find out that the Lightkeeper guy was like one of the world's best doctors, and he was traveling on Gold Roger's ship for 3 years, and he went out on that ship to find Brook and his crew to, like, tell them, hey, look, the whale's waiting for you, like, feel free to come back and see your best mate. So that was a nice little interesting thing to find out. We also find out that a couple of really important things. One, that Gold Roger turned himself in. We find out that Gold Roger had, like, a terminal illness, and that's why they collected that doctor, because he was the best one and he was the only person that could at least ease the pain that Gold Roger was going through at the time. And we find out that Gold Roger had like premeditated turning himself into the government, and so, you know, in the year or so before he turned himself in, he was slowly disbanding his crew so that they could all make like a, you know, a little quiet getaway before the moment he turned himself in, so the crew would already be, you know, at their new lives, or like in their incognito new lives, or however you want to look at it, once he'd turned himself in, because once he'd turned himself in, obviously, they would have been like, his crew no longer has a captain, they'll be weak, let's go hunt them down. Now, the thing that I like about all of this conversation that we had, and there's a little more that I'll touch on that the old fella did tell us, his right-hand man, but the thing that I like so far about everything that they told us was that it fits into my theory, into my prediction, that Gold Roger was executed because he knew the history of the world, because he tried to bring the history of the world forward. Either he confronted the government about it, or he was going to tell people about it, or he confronted the government and said that he was going to tell people about it, right? It all fits into there, especially because at some point, I believe it's Robin, asks, do you know the hidden history of the world? And the guy says, yes. Yes, we did know the hidden history. Yes, we knew what that was. But he was reluctant to tell Robin what that history was, because he was like, you should go out and see more of the world before you find out what this hidden history is. And Robin is like, okay, I respect that. I respect that you think that, you know, I haven't seen enough to really understand or really, you know, appreciate what this hidden history of the world is. But that fits into my theory that Gold Roger knew the hidden history of the world, because obviously they've just told us now that he did know the hidden history of the world. And it also fits into my theory that Gold Roger turned himself in, right? Because I don't know if you remember in my past videos, I said, you know, Gold Roger was this incredibly strong person. It doesn't really make sense that the King of the Pirate was captured if he was like, you know, the King of the Pirates for so long and had his own like fleet and all that. It would make more sense that he would turn himself in for a greater cause than he was just like caught in battle, which is a prediction I did have, and it's a prediction that this guy has confirmed now. So it's all fitting together with my, like, Gold Roger, you know, learnt the history of the world and was bringing it either to the world's government attention or bringing it to the people's attention, or he wanted to bring it to the government's attention so that they could fix it before he brought it to the people's attention. I don't know. Either way, it's just like one of those things where it feels nice to have some kind of like backing to my prediction of all this now. So the next general storytelling point that I want to talk about is I noticed that they reached the red line at chapter 490. And I've heard people say that One Piece was meant to originally end sooner than it's like now slated to end. And it makes me wonder if One Piece was originally meant to end at like chapter 1000, and that would explain why they reached the halfway point of the Grand Line on chapter 490. Like, was that a symbolic gesture of like, they've reached the halfway to the Grand Line and we've reached halfway to Luffy's story? I wonder if that was the original intention with One Piece, and then like as they were exploring the Grand Line more, or the New World more, they were like, hey, we've got more of a story to tell. We're not quite ready for this to end at chapter 1000. So if you know when One Piece was originally meant to end, please let me know, because I have a feeling it was like slated to end at exactly chapter 1000. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about how this one ends, right? So this one ended pretty like direly, and I've noticed that has been more of a theme recently, especially after Enies Lobby, right? When I first read Enies Lobby and I did my review on it, I said, like, this was the first one that I actually really felt like, tension. I was like, how are these people actually going to get out of this? Like, I can't really see how they're going to get out of this. I don't really, I don't know what's coming next. And that was a really great moment for me to read because, all of these people are like superpowered, superhuman people. So it was nice to like actually worry about their safety. And I've noticed that since the post-Enies Lobby, or since the Enies Lobby arc, they've really been able to dial up that tension a lot more. And again, we saw it in this one, like right towards the end when they're fighting the first guy, the first clone, or whatever he is. I don't know if he's like a twin of the guy, and they've all just got like these twin bodies all together and they've all been like given different armaments. Or I don't know if he's a clone of the original guy that can use the paw powers that sends people away. But for some reason, after that fight, I just get the feeling that this guy sent away the Straw Hat Pirates to save them. I feel as if this guy was not working for the government when he did that, when he like started just like sending people off wherever he sends them. Where would you like to go on vacation, as he says. I have a feeling because he was one of the warlords, he wasn't like an admiral or anything, so he was one of those pirates, and we have heard that the pirates do their own thing, so technically they work for the government, but they are still pirates and they are still their own people. So I have a feeling that he saved Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates. I have a feeling he didn't just like obliterate and wipe them out, as like a government lackey would. So I'm really interested to see what happens next with that. Like, I don't know if they're like, someone said that you just get like blasted into the air and you're just like flying through the air for 3 days and 3 nights. I don't believe that. I have a feeling there's some kind of like intention behind it and he like teleports people away. I mean, maybe he's teleported them all to their ship, maybe he's teleported them all to like a nice tropical paradise island and then they all have to get back to the sunny. I don't know. I'm just saying, I have a feeling that guy did right by the Straw Hat crew. I have a feeling that wasn't like an act of violence. It wasn't an act of aggression. He was showing aggression and he was showing violence, but under no circumstances did he need to walk them away, right? Like, there was, his clones were there was the Admiral there, like, they were all, pretty messed up, and they were trying to run away, and they were just getting the crap beaten out of them. So he could have easily just, like, let the other people just, like, beat them down. But he went out of his way, and actually, I believe he, like, reflected one of his clones, or whatever you want to call it. He deflected one of the beams back at the clone, if I remember correctly. So that's going to be really interesting to find out why that guy saved the Straw Hat crew, if he did, but I'm pretty sure he did. And before he sends them all away, we do get a lot of like really great like desperation scenes. We see how, like, especially when like Luffy is watching all of his friends disappear and he's like, I couldn't help my friends, and you kind of like see the desperation on Luffy's face as he's trying to stop this guy before he can like send all of his friends away, right? We see a lot of really great desperation moments, like when Rumble takes the 3 Rumble Balls, not Rumble, when Chopper takes the 3 Rumble Balls and becomes that like big Wendigo monster thing. It's like, wow, this is like, you can see that it's a desperation moment for Chopper, and he doesn't even like say, hey guys, I'm taking 3 Rumble Balls or anything. He's just like boom boom boom, and like all of a sudden you see the big Wendigo Chopper. And you know Chopper hates going into that mode because he doesn't have control and because like he's just as likely to attack his friends. But it's a great show of the desperation that they feel. And then, as they're all running away, and one of the twins of the Bible guy goes after Brook and Zoro, and I think it was Frankie, you see Sanji see that they're being targeted, and like they're clear, they're making their escape, like they can get out of there. But Sanji's like, Zoro's in a really bad way. I have to go and help him. And I'm really glad that they like made Sanji go and like, he was going to be free and safe, but Sanji was like, no, I have to go and help. And so he runs over there and like does his best to help. And it was a really great moment, especially coming off of the Thriller Bark one, where at the end, we see Zoro and he's like, I will take on the pain and the suffering of Luffy. I'll take on the pain and the suffering of my friends. Just give it to me, spare them. And so he does. And it's Sanji that goes over to him and is like, this guy's covered in blood. Are you okay? What happened? And Zoro's just like, nothing. I'm fine. And you just see like the respect on Sanji's face, but he's also like, fuck, I would have done the same thing, which I believe he did try to do the same thing. I think that when Zoro was like, just kill me, let everyone go, then Sanji's like, no, kill me, let everyone go, and then they kind of get into a kerfuffle and like Zoro knocks him out or something, if I remember that part correctly. And then like, so Sanji obviously knows that something happened and wanted to take on that burden himself, but like Zoro's just like, nothing happened. And so it's like this respect moment between Sanji and Zoro, but like I wonder if Sanji also felt guilt in that moment that he didn't take on that burden. He let Zoro knock him out. Like, well, he didn't let him, but he wasn't strong enough to stop Zoro from knocking him out. So I wonder if there was also like a guilt factor in there for Sanji. But anyway, it's nice to watch their like relationship develop, like as they like butt heads, but also in these bigger, dire moments, they will put their life on the line for each other. They will like do whatever it takes for each other. And it's just one of those like great brotherly bonds to watch play out. And while we're talking about those desperation moments at the end, I feel as if we should talk about Gold Roger's right-hand man. Right, when the Admiral is there and he's about to like, I don't know, lightfoot Zoro. Zoro's on the ground and he's about to like stomp on him with his lightfoot or, whatever that attack was going to be. Everything felt so desperate in that moment, right? So going off that desperation point, everything did feel so desperate in that moment. And I was like, how are they going to get out of this? What is going to happen next? Poor Zoro is just constantly getting the crap beaten out of him. But then we get Ray rock up and he like uses his foot and he's like, poof, and like stops the light power from hitting Zoro. And, they kind of have that moment where it's like, so you are here, King of the Underworld, or whatever his nickname was. It seemed to be translated 3 different ways while I was reading that, so I'm just going to say his nickname is King of the Underworld, because another one was like King of the Black World, King of the Black Land, and I was just like, what is this guy's name? But he had a lot of really great stuff in this one. We didn't really get to see a lot of action from him, but we did get to see him use his, I believe it was called Haki, I believe that is the name for the chi power that I keep calling chi power. And we got to see him like knock out a bunch of people while they were in the slave auction, right? And when they are later on back at the bar, they ask him about it, and he doesn't really go into any detail, which I found really annoying because I was like, this is it. This is the moment. This guy is the exposition guy, and he is going to tell me all about this chi power and why Zoro can use it. And, Shanks also has that same power. I believe he like knocked everyone out on Whitebeard's ship, if I remember that correctly. So I was like, this is the moment. This is the moment where he's going to tell us all about the chi power, but he doesn't tell us anything about it. I was like, God damn it. Just tell me what this power is and how they use it and why they can use it and how they train it. I want to know everything about it. It's a magic system and I don't know anything about it. I'm like halfway caught up. Just let me know what this damn magic system is. One of the interesting things about that guy is, though, like, if we didn't already just get Frankie and then just get Brook, if we didn't get either Frankie or Brook, I would predict that this guy would be joining Luffy's crew, because he just kind of like, he has this air about him, he has this vibe about him that I'm like, he's like rendered in great detail, and he seems to have like a lot of history and a lot of information that he could slowly depart onto the crew and kind of like be a guide for them in the new world. So if we hadn't already gotten Frankie and Brook, I would predict that he would also be joining the crew. But as we have already got 2 new crew members and we haven't had the chance for them to go on their arcs and to, really get to know them and to like see how they interact with the world, I'm going to predict that he won't be joining the crew. And while we're talking about Ray and the information that he does depart onto the crew, one of the things I want to bring up is, while he was telling the story about Gold Roger, he talks about the last time that he saw Roger and the last thing that Roger said to him. Before he turned himself in, his friend was obviously worried about him, but Gold Roger says, "Don't worry, I'm not going to die." Even though he's heading to hand himself in and he knows he's going to be executed. So it makes me wonder, like that one panel, that one line that he speaks to his friend, "Don't worry, I'm not going to die." It makes me wonder if there's something more to that, right? If it's like, Gold Roger has a Horcrux, right, to borrow from Harry Potter. He's put his soul into a fucking locket or something, and, when someone finds it, they'll put the locket on and Gold Roger will take over their body and be reborn. Or maybe he meant something along the lines of, like, legends never die, like V for Vendetta, right? Like, I'm just a man, I'm just flesh, but what I am is also an idea, and you cannot kill ideas with bullets, you cannot kill ideas with executions, Did he mean it more as that? Because the information, like in my predictions, I say that One Piece is all about information. It's not about fame or fortune or anything like that. It is just like a block of information that people are going to get that's going to change the world. And also, is like that what he meant? Like the idea, the revolution that he wants to start, that is what can't die. Or did he actually go to the Marines and bring this information to them with the idea that they wouldn't execute him? Or maybe he knew he was going to die and he just wanted to comfort an old friend, I don't know. I don't know Gold Roger personally, but he seems like a fairly decent dude so far. So that one line is really interesting because it does help to spawn a lot of speculation. It does help to spawn a lot of theories. Why did he think he wasn't going to die? Did he think the man wasn't going to die, or did he think the idea wasn't going to die? Next, I want to talk about Luffy, because I did have a really great realization about Luffy in this arc. Now, if you've been watching my reviews for a while, you would know that whenever I was talking about Luffy, I was always so hard to place him. I was like, what? He seems to be like this force of nature, this chaotic force of good, this justice, but chaos, but bad, but good. And I never really understood where to place him in my mind in terms of characterization. But with this one, I finally get it. Luffy represents blind justice. And that idea for Luffy fits really well, because in this One Piece world, we have seen it repeatedly and constantly that the Marines are meant to be a force of good, and most of the lower level Marines are just kind of doing what they're told. They believe they're doing good. But then the higher level Marines show off all of the corruption. And so in this world, the force of justice is a corrupt one. And so it makes sense that in Enos Lobby, when Luffy got, Soge King to shoot the flag and erupt it into flames and officially declare war against the government, it was a force of justice. It was a force of blind justice declaring war against a corrupt force of justice. And I don't know if this is how other people see him or not, but this is how I see it, and this is how I, interpret the information that's coming towards me. But I really like it. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I really like it that Luffy represents a force of blind justice. And I feel as if that was really shown in this specific one, when there was the guy, I can't remember his name specifically, but he is the descendant of one of the original 20 kings that started the world government. And from the moment we see him, we're determined to hate this guy. That's the point. He's there to be hated, to show Luffy as this blind force of justice, in my opinion. And we see it originally when he rocks up, he's riding some guy as a dog or a horse, and he's got these two women chained up beside him, and he's got the bodyguard beside him. And he's yelling at the guy for not moving fast enough while he's riding on his back. And Zoro just comes walking through, and while everyone else is, down and they're bowing and they're like, oh, wow, wow, it's really great to see you. Please don't have me executed. Zoro's just kind of walking through. And so the guy pulls out his gun and goes to shoot Zoro for the disrespect, I believe. But as he goes to shoot, Zoro slides through with his sword and is about to, slice him up, which is when Bonnie, I believe her name was, jumps through as a little girl and is like, oh, big brother, you've been shot, how my heart bleeds for you, blah, 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 and saves him from killing this guy. And before that, while everyone was bowing and paying their respects, you see these two paramedics, I believe you'd call them, bringing this guy along the stretcher, trying to get him to the hospital. And the guy is just like, no, and flips over the stretcher and then like says, you're going to be my wife, and shoots the doctor, who's like the fiance. So like from the beginning, we're predetermined to like hate this guy. That's the whole point. And just a side note, Bonnie and Zoro, I would love to like, I was kind of hoping everyone would go in their own directions and would kind of get like, 10 chapters per character, just to like kind of see how they would survive and like keep hidden while everyone was looking for him. And I was like, Zoro and Bonnie, I would love to read that story. I think that they would have like a great dynamic, and I think that they would have a lot of like interesting stuff. So I was really looking forward to that, but then they all like disappeared instead. Anyway, back to Luffy being a source of justice, right? So we've now seen this guy, we've now seen how like, above the law they are, how like people can't mess with them, otherwise, an admiral will come, otherwise all these battleships will come to save them because they have the original blood in them. We then get the moment where, they're in the slave auction and the guy buys the mermaid, Cammy. Then the big fight breaks out and the octopus guy, Hachi, gets shot by the guy that we don't like, right? And Hachi's just there and he like grabs Luffy and he's like, Luffy, please don't do this. You promised that if anyone gets shot right before your eyes, you would do nothing about it. Like, just please, this is for the greater good. It's just a bullet wound. I'll be fine. You don't understand. This guy has the like blood of the original creators of the world government. This guy's a big dick player. This guy's like all this other stuff. And so it just shows, I guess you could interpret what happens next as like two different ways, right? So Luffy punches the guy in the face, even though he's been told like, hey, these are all the consequences if you attack this guy. So please, for your own benefit, do not attack him. But then Luffy punches him anyway. And you could really read this scene in two different ways, right? You could read it as like, I guess you could read it in three different ways. You could read it as Luffy, his friend is there, and so he's got all this raw emotion, and he just like punches him because of his friends were injured and he had all of that raw emotion. You could read it as Luffy being, dumb and not really thinking through the consequences and just kind of being like impulsive and acting rash and just being like, a dumb kid, I guess. And that's why he punched him. Or you could interpret it the way I do and see it as like a blind force of justice. Like, that's the whole point. It's like, everything that happened with like the Weinstein stuff, people were told, if you come forward, like, this guy is going to ruin your life. Like, this guy has so much money, he can like have hits put out on you. He can have you killed. Coming forward against this guy could ruin your career. It could do this. It could do this. And it was like the blind force of justice in the real world. It really isn't that blind, but in that moment, it was. And I feel like that's what Luffy is meant to represent. He's meant to represent, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what your bloodline is, how high your stature, how much money you're worth, what kind of crazy consequences you think that you could throw out there. It doesn't matter, because for Luffy, justice is blind. Alright, but that's enough of all that like deep and meaningful stuff. Let's talk about everything that happened at the beginning of the arc and like everything that brought us there. So they leave Thriller Bark and they're off and they're out of the mist and they're all heading towards the red line and everything's great. And we see like a big face in the mist, and it looks like a giant sea king in the mist is like watching them go, and like it's got like the two red sparkly eyes, and it's like, this is really ominous. I wonder what's happening there. And it just makes me wonder if like there is anything coming down the road with that, ominous mist, or if it's just like a, hey, while you were there was also this like big crazy creature that was causing the mist. But I suppose we'll find that out, or not find that out, later on. Right, they reach the red line, they can't figure out how to get to the Fishman Island. And that's when a giant sea bunny jumps out of the water because they had a submarine down there and the submarine bore the sea bunny up. While the sea bunny is in the air, it gets punched in the stomach and spits out a mermaid. And this is one of the things that I love about One Piece and One Piece storytelling, is the exposition is just fantastic. The like conveniences is just, it's just so well done. It's so funny, it's so comedic, it's so like smart that it never feels dumb. It never feels like too convenient or anything like that. The exposition's great. So the mermaid comes down, it's Cammy, and we find out that her friend, Hachi, has been captured because he went out looking for her, because after she was eaten, he presumed that the kidnappers must have taken her because the kidnappers had been trying to take her for ages. Now, the moment that I realized that she looked familiar was when she was like, oh wow, you guys are really going to help us? I'm going to offer you takiyoki, I believe it's pronounced. Takiyaki, takiyoki, either way. Once she offered them the like octopus stuff, I was like, hang on, hold on a minute. I remember seeing that word in one of the panels when Hachi got away and decided to open up his own food boat thing. And then I was just kind of like looking at her and I was like, yeah, she looks so familiar. I think it's her. And then later on we find out that, it is her and it is Hachi. And one of the interesting things for me when I was reading this is, obviously because we'd seen the beginning panels, we know that Hachi had become a changed person. We knew that he was no longer a pirate. And I believed that he saved the mermaid or he saved the starfish, or at some point he went and did something and saved someone. So as the reader, we knew that he was a changed person. We knew that he was, now a business owner and a part of the community and no longer a pirate. So it was interesting to read this story from the perspective of knowing all that, but seeing it through the eyes of the One Piece crew, the Straw Hat crew, that didn't know that Hachi was a changed man. Or from the perspective of Hachi that was very guilty and was stressed and upset and was these people, they're still going to think I'm a bad person, Along Park was a long time ago. I'm a changed man. I've, got this lady in my life, although they didn't say if they were really dating or not, but I think it was implied. I've got this lady in my life now. I've got a business now. I'm just trying to be a part of the community and just trying to live my life now. So it's interesting to watch everything with Hachi develop from the moment he covers himself with ink to try and stop them from recognizing him, but then I think it's Zoro or something is how's Arlong doing? And, Hachi's oh, they were captured, but I managed to get away. And then he's oh, crap. Right up until the moment where, Luffy, I forget what happens. I forget at which point it is. I think it's when Cammy is stolen from the Ferris wheel or whatever, from the ice cream stand, actually it was. And Hachi's oh no, how are we going to find her? Are you going to help me find her? And Luffy's of course we're going to help you find her because you're our friend. And it was just a nice little moment to see them go through all this stuff and especially all the stuff they've been through. But then for Luffy to be I see that you're a changed man. I see that you're a new person. So of course I'm going to help you because you are now my friend. I don't judge you for your sins of your past. And obviously that also feeds into my theory that Luffy is blind justice. And of course, I've got to mention the most handsome man in the world, the leader of the, what were they, the rose-tinted glasses-wearing people now, the rose-tinted pirates or something. That was so great. That was so well done because, when you see him around and he's wearing the mask, he does give off such an ominous presence. And, when he was someone on the Straw Hat Pirates crew ruined my life, and now this wound that I have on my back is because of them. And as I was reading it, I was really trying to cast my mind back and just think of it. And I was he's given us these clues. These clues are coming out. Who is it? Who had a wound on their back? Whose, body looked like this? And I was maybe Crocodile. But then I was yeah, Crocodile didn't really have a wound on his back. But then, again, he could have. Because Luffy, punched him through the ceiling of that catacombs. And that could have, fucked up his back, I suppose. But I was just really casting my mind back, and I was who is this guy? Who is a guy that had a wound on his back that would want drastic revenge on these people and would be out at the Red Line at Fishman Island for some reason with a crew of kidnappers riding flying fish? And eventually we get the reveal that it's actually the guy that looks like Sanji's wanted poster. That was very funny. It was a very comedic reveal. It was very clever. I actually thought it was going to be Wapol, because he was riding the bison or the buffalo or whatever that thing was, and I believe Wapol rode a hippo. So I was I don't know, maybe in this new climate, maybe it ate a devil fruit or something. So in my mind, my prediction was it going to be Wapol. And then out of sympathy, Sanji comes through and rearranges the guy's face with a whole bunch of kicks and makes him incredibly handsome and look nothing like his wanted poster anymore. That whole sequence from beginning to end was great. I enjoyed the reveal, who Cammy was. I enjoyed the reveal of Hachi. I enjoyed the reveal of who that guy was. It was very comedic. All of the action in that scene was really good as well. And the reveal that the Sunny has a cannon in its mouth and has the ability to dodge things. It was all pretty interesting stuff, and it was all pretty fun to read. It was pretty good to get Hachi back, and to enemies to friends is always something quite difficult to do, but when you can do it well, it's done quite well. So I do really enjoy everything that happened with that. One of my questions is, once we get the reveal that there are 11 pirates, the 11 strongest pirates that have come through the Grand Line, including Luffy and his crew, once we get that reveal, we get to see all of their names, and we get to see all the cool things that they do, and all of that. And I was just wondering, if all of those pirates were based on real people. Because I know Captain Kidd was a real pirate, and I know that Bonnie was a real pirate, I believe. Captain Bonnie? That sounds familiar. And if you ever played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you'll remember that there's a part where Captain Kidd, like, goes from being a boy to being a girl, or something. Like, just, like, mysteriously, it just kind of, like, happens. Apparently, that's based on, like, real life lore. Apparently, like, in the real Captain Kidd was a dude and then became a lady, so it was probably like a lady pretending to be a guy. But like in Captain Kidd's mythology, it is written that he was once a man and then became a woman. So I wonder if they're going to do something similar. I mean, I don't think One Piece would do that, but I mean, it'd be interesting if they did, especially if it's based on the real Captain Kidd. Just a couple more random points. We get a really good quote from, I believe it was Sanji, when Cammy gets kidnapped from the carnival, and he calls in the flying fish riders because he says, like, you know, these people are professionals. These people have been, like, hunting Cammy for ages, so if anyone is going to be able to find him, it's them. And he says the quote, "It takes a serpent to follow a snake's path." And I thought that that was a really clever quote. I don't know why, I just thought it was a particularly clever one. We also get a nice moment where, you know, Nami is like, we've got about $200 million on the boat when they're about to go and bid for Cammy, because they know that they can't just rock in there, beat everyone up, and try and take off the collar, because it will explode, as we saw earlier, as it was foreshadowed earlier. So Nami is like, we've got at least 200 million berries on the boat, we can try and bid for her. And Hachi's like, there's no way I could pay that much money back. And Nami's like, it doesn't matter, she's our friend, like, it's fine, it's 200 million is nothing compared to our friend's life. And it was just such a great Nami moment, and, you know, everyone kind of, like, looked at her like, wow, yeah, Nami's great. And Sanji even says, like, I love this side of you, Nami. And it was, like, a really great moment for Nami to just, like, not be so money hungry that she would put money before this other person's life. And I really enjoyed that moment. Alright, now I got one more point to talk about, and then I'm going to start putting up panels, and we'll kind of like talk a little bit about the panels that I throw up. Another interesting point that I feel like I have to mention in this video is the newspaper article that we get when, like, you know, the newspapers start dropping down on everyone, and they're reading it, and you see all the pirate captains are like, what? Oh my god, no way, this is crazy, this is stupid, blah blah blah. And then we get the reveal that Ace's public execution is going to happen. And it doesn't, at that moment, I'm pretty sure it doesn't specifically state that the public execution is happening on the island they're on, but it kind of like feels like it's implied. Or maybe it's like, maybe they didn't name the island because it's going to be another island in the future. But anyway, somebody asked their captain, like, wow, Ace's public execution is about to happen. Won't Whitebeard take action against the government? And his captain looked back at him and goes, yep, there's going to be an all-out war. And so that was a really interesting point, because I don't expect Ace to be killed, right? Like, I don't expect that Ace will be executed, right? Like, I have a feeling that he will be saved, or he'll save himself, or Whitebeard will be there, or Luffy will be there, or whoever. I don't even know what island he's planning on being executed on. But I don't predict that Ace will be executed. I predict that something will happen, because Luffy doesn't have a lot of people in his life, so I feel as if Ace is too good of a tool for the writers to use for Luffy. Like, they can really do a lot of great stuff with Ace and Luffy in regards to, like, you know, Luffy's background, in regards to when they were kids, in regards to, like, plans for the future, helping each other out, being, like, friends but enemies. You know, there's a whole lot of really great stuff that they could do between Ace and Luffy. So I don't predict that Ace will be killed. But the thing is, if they were to kill Ace, that would be huge. What a, like, massive plot development for Luffy that would be. What a massive, like, character moment for Luffy it would be to watch your brother get killed. Right, there is so much that, like, the, you know, Oda could do if he was to have Ace beheaded, and especially if, like, Luffy fought his absolute heart out, if Luffy fought the best that he could to try and get to Ace, to try and save him, but even with all of his, like, gum abilities, all of his friends, all of his strength, all of the, you know, Gear 2, Gear 3, everything that he's got for him now, he was still not strong enough to save his brother from being beheaded, right? Imagine how great of a storytelling moment that would be, and it would, like, be a great moment to, you know, really cement in this, like, darker, more adult, more, like, deep One Piece story as they go into the new world. to have Luffy do everything that he could to try and save his brother's life, but still not be strong enough. What an awesome character development moment that would be. And like for us as the reader, we'd be like, what? Are you kidding? They actually killed Ace? Like, I would not expect that at all. Like, everything that I've just said is like, okay, yeah, cool, you know, you could do a lot of stuff with it, but there's no way it's gonna happen, right? But could you imagine as the reader, like, watching Ace get beheaded and Luffy, you know, maybe he's like on the ground and like someone's holding him on the ground and he's just like looking up and like watching as his brother gets killed. And then, like, just before Ace is, like, executed, he'll, like, look at Luffy and, like, say something. He'll, like, say something deep or say something emotional. Or maybe there's a flashback to their childhood where, like, Ace used to say something to Luffy or Luffy used to say something to Ace or, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then just before Ace is killed, he, like, looks at Luffy and, like, says that thing and then it's, like, super emotional and then he dies. Right? Do I think it's going to happen? No, of course not. But I'm just saying, like, that's a direction they could take it, and it would be a pretty damn good direction to go in. But either way, I think that Ace has way too much that he can contribute to the story. He has way too much that he can help Luffy grow and get him in and out of bad situations. So I feel as if Ace is going to be around for a while. Alright, so now I'm going to throw up some panels here, and we could talk about them. We'll see what panels I decided to save while I was reading this. So first panel is here. So this is the beginning one I was talking about where you can see like the red eyes and like the face. It kind of looks like a sea king peering out of the mist at the beginning and it's like super ominous and it's like, is this the reason for the mist? Is this going to come up later? You know, is this the sea bunny that chased them to the red line? Who knows? This one I also thought was quite interesting. I'm going to read you exactly what the starfish says. He says, 800 years ago, the organization known as the World Government was created by a group of 20 kings. Their descendants are known as the Tenryubuto, and make no mistake, over the years, they've grossly abused their power. So that was just an interesting point. I don't know if people are keeping track of like timelines or set dates, set times, who did what, where, when, how, why, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, it does give us more information into the world government in regards to 20 kings started it. So that might have something to do with it. People tell me that the numbers in One Piece have a big consequence. They've got like some kind of big meaning to them. And ever since I did see that, I've been seeing numbers appearing a lot more, like on Hachi's Takioka stand, there's the number 8, but obviously he's an octopus, so I mean that could just mean the number 8, but I have been seeing numbers a lot more ever since then. It was just a nice piece of information. You know, 800 years ago the world government was created by 20 kings and their descendants, called this, have been abusing their powers ever since, and we get to see them abusing their powers in this one. Just helps to build that we hate the world government, the government is corrupt. You know, Gold Roger probably had some information that was going to bring down the world government, and that's why he was executed. And this panel, you know, just as I said, you know, we see him say that we weren't caught, Roger gave himself up, and we get the information that he had a terminal disease. I must have saved that panel because I was like, God damn, that's huge, and it does, like, fit in with my theory that I've been saying for ages. I wanted to bring up this one, right, because earlier we saw that Zoro did his, like, 3-head, 9-demon sword technique, right? And when I first brought this up and I was like, is this, like, what is this? Is this just a stylistic thing, or is Zoro actually some kind of demon that transformed into, like, this crazy thing? And people said to me it was more of, like, a stylistic thing. But as you can see in this one, Chopper, actually no, I think it's Brooks, specifically says, more Zoros appeared. So right now, I still don't know anything about his, like, chi magic ability or why he can clone himself inside of himself or anything like that, or if he's got a demon that lives inside of himself. But I can't wait for, who's it, Ray? I can't wait for him to tell me everything about this chi power, so I can finally figure out why Zoro can turn into a 9-sworded demon. And then we got this one, the final panel of the arc. So you can see Luffy, he's, like, you know, obviously stressed, he's about to get, like, teleported away. And the guy says to him, we will not meet again. Farewell. And then afterwards it says, Grand Line, Sabaody Archipelago, Grove 12. On this day, the pirate crew, led by Captain Monkey D. Luffy, the Straw Hat Pirates, was completely destroyed. I have a feeling when he says, you know, farewell, we will not meet again, I have a feeling that's more like, I'm about to get in trouble for, like, sending you guys away, and I'm going to get executed for it, or I'm going to end up in jail for it, or something. I have a feeling that's not farewell, we will not meet again, Luffy and his entire crew are dead. But obviously, I'm going to have to wait and find out. If I had, like, gun to my head, I had to make a prediction right now, where all of his crew ended up, I would say on top of the red line. I would say that they all appeared at the top of the red line where the Marine HQ is, and we might see more of Luffy's grandpa in the next one. Alright, if I had to make a bet, if I had to put all my coins on the stake and like make the bet, that would be my bet. They're on top of the red line at the Marine HQ. Why would they be there? I don't know. It would give Oda the ability to allow us to explore the red line a little bit, just like a tiny little touch, and to get to see the Marine HQ and to see how it runs and the people around it. Right, it feels like a great opportunity for Oda to do world building on the Marine HQ firsthand with our crew that we appreciate so much. Whether or not that's true, it really doesn't matter. Like, they could be anywhere, anytime, any place, whatever. I'm just excited that they're not dead. I'm ready to see what happens next. Alright, and guys, just on a more personal note, by the time you see this video, I will be flying out of Canada. I will be on the plane on my way to Australia. So I might not be able to do next week's video, depending on how long my travels take. I don't know. I'll definitely put up a community post so you'll be able to see. If I cannot do a video next week, I will do everything in my power to do a live stream instead. Obviously, I'm flying into Australia and I'm going to a backpackers, so if I can find somewhere that does free Wi-Fi before I can get, internet set up, I will be doing everything in my power to get either a video out or to get a live stream out. But as that, more comes to fruition, I'll put a community notice up so you guys can see what's happening next. I would really like to do a live stream because I would like to talk to you guys about everything that happened in Thriller Bark because, reading some of the comments, a lot of people have a lot of questions and a lot of things to say. But anyway, that'll do it for this video. Thanks for hanging around so long. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if you haven't already, or leave more, whatever. Leave all the comments you want. I appreciate them all. Thank you very much. Until we meet again, I'll see you later.